On this episode, we discuss Cobra.
Live from Vancouver, Canada!
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Flophouse. I'm Dan McCoy.
I'm Stuart Wellington.
And I'm Elliot Kalin.
And we are Alex is milking applause out of
I added a lot
his
more.
name.
I added a lot more N's to my name.
Stolen Valor.
Junior. Stolen Valor. Yeah, I've been going around pickpocketing
Just
N's from other
adding
people's
N's
names.
to your name.
Christopher Ola, the director of Oppenheimer. 2 N's more in my sack.
We're here in Vancouver, Canada at the Rio Theater.
Look, it's baseball pitching superstar Ola Raya. 3 more N's for Elliot.
I wish I could say I'm not trying to think of a name with a lot of N's in it.
That's how I get you.
Yeah, this is a podcast where you watch a bad movie and then we talk about it. Now, for this live episode, we decided to watch Cobra, a canon classic starring one Mr. Sly Stallone.
Now, when he says
written
canon,
by.
and written by
yeah.
Sly, yeah. When he says canon, just for anyone who's not a bad movie buff, he means canon films, not canon like it's in the Bible. There's
I'm not
no
saying
book
that this is
of
a
Cobra.
canonical work.
Yeah, it's listed on the syllabus. We have to read it.
Yeah. It's a classic text of Western civilization. So we watched Cobra. This is a movie. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've seen this movie before. Guys, have you seen this movie before?
I have seen it. I've actually been meaning to rewatch Cobra. For once in my life, the podcast has been a good excuse to see a movie I wanted to see.
I was like,
Yeah.
hey, Dan, have you seen The Holdovers yet? He's like, nah, I'm waiting to watch Cobra first.
Well, because The Holdovers doesn't make sense if you haven't seen Cobra yet.
It's true, actually.
My wife really wants to see The Holdovers. I'm being good and waiting to...
You are good. You're being very good.
You know what? You're great.
I'll take it. Thank you. He was waiting for me to say back to him that he was great,
right?
but I didn't do it.
I'll take any level. I'm on board.
Okay, everybody, so let's talk Cobra. I'm going to go through the plot of Cobra. These guys are going to chime in and interrupt me, or try to. Anyway, we start... Cobra starts the way...
We'll let you run.
Cobra starts the same way every movie should start, with a voiceover of Sylvester Stallone telling you suspect crime statistics. He goes, in America, there's a burglary every 11 seconds. Somebody steals a baby every 15 seconds. Every 34 minutes, somebody says they're gonna pay for a piece of baked goods in a store, and they just run away.
We should have... It's only now occurring to me that we should have called up our old Daily Show fact-checker friend, Adam Chodikoff, and be like, hey, Adam, can you fact-check these Cobra statistics
Can you look
for
up to
us?
see what the crime statistics were for 1986?
It's accurate.
Well, Dan, I'll have you know that I did the fact-checking myself. That's right, everybody. It's me, Sylvester
You
Stallone.
made it out. I didn't know whether he was going to come, but...
When I saw that you were going to talk about my movie Cobra, which
It's going to be 2 hours of that.
God damn.
it's a movie I starred in and wrote, and probably directed too, under an assumed name, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe I played all the other parts as well. A real tour
Even
de force.
Brigitte Nielsen's role.
Yes, we met on set, and I said, let's get married, but first I will do your part.
Allow me
my
to assume your physical form.
I got to live out every man's dream of kissing himself on camera. But I checked all those statistics. I went around to the newspaper offices in town, and I said, give me your crime statistics. And they said,
a large man is yelling at us.
I was already famous, Daniel. They knew it was me, Sylvester Stallone.
I'm sorry, I presumed you went out in incognito as a famous man.
Impossible. I'm just that famous.
That's true.
Once I went, COVID, everyone was wearing masks. And even though I wore a mask, everyone was like, are you Sly Stallone? And I'd be like, no, I'm just a masked regular person who's going around all their business.
You're right. I cannot imagine encountering Sylvester Stallone and not knowing it was Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine me when I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, oh, it's Sylvester Stallone. What are you doing in my house? You get the fuck out of here. And I pull a gun. I say, how'd you get out of here? And my family is like, Sly, because they call me that too.
Yeah,
They go,
that makes sense.
Sly, it's you, it's a mirror. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness. I thought I was in the movie Judge Dredd again, where I was dealing with my clone.
Well, I'm glad I took us down that road.
Well, anyway, maybe I'll be back later. I don't know. I noticed there was some Tostitos in the back.
Yeah.
Restaurant style. I'll go have that. Okay, Sylvester Stallone's leaving. It's me again now. In the old days, I do a bit where I was like, oh, I just came back. Where's Sly Stallone? I don't need to do that anymore. I'm more Stallone than Elliot now. So he has these statistics as we are looking at the handle of a gun with a Cobra image on it. And then the gun turns and points at us, the audience. And does it fire? I can't remember. In what I assume would be an homage to the movie Spellbound.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're kind of given a vision of hell. There's occasional shots of like people riding motorcycles over
Yes.
a red, fiery backdrop.
It's the blood red skies of Southern California. And there's a mysterious person on a motorcycle. He looks super cool in silhouette. You'd be forgiven for thinking this is our titular hero, Cobra, the Snake Man. But no, because intercut with this man riding a bike under these blood red skies are scenes of the meeting of an axe-killing cult, which is mainly a bunch of guys who meet in the sewer and they each hold one axe in each hand and clang them together.
Playing them together, yeah.
That's the extent of the service, the ceremony.
I mean, that sounds like a nice club. You get to a certain age, you just want to meet new people.
Yeah.
It's hard
Go
to
out
make
and clang
friends
some
after a
axes.
certain,
When
yeah,
you're a
after a certain
grown-up,
point when you're like,
hard
you
to make
leave
friends.
school, like maybe your kids are all grown up. It's hard to meet people. And so
You
it's
need
nice
a common
to,
interest, like clanging
yeah,
axes.
like axe clang.
investing
yeah.
in axes aren't that expensive. You can buy axes.
I could buy axes, sure.
yeah,
Don't-
I think you
What are you
could.
trying to say about me?
No, I mean, I don't know.
Dan, I hate to break it to you this way, and for all these people, you couldn't buy an axe.
Yeah,
No.
and you do, I mean, I think the thing is you just don't have like axe cult vibes.
Yes,
right?
yes. What's weird, although you are wearing
I'm wearing a plaid flannel, you know.
and you
mean,
have a
it feels
beard.
like
I mean,
you're
you have lumberjack
patronizing,
vibes, but for that you're going to use one of those double crosscut saws, right?
That's true. I need a partner.
Yeah. That's
There's a
another
lot to
reason
think
people,
about.
No, but it's another reason people become lumberjacks to meet other people because it's a
I
two-person
need
saw.
another wanted second man for saw.
Must like flapjacks.
L for L.
Oh, it's lumberjack for lumberjack.
Yeah.
Misconnection. I was cutting down a tree. You were cutting down another tree. Well, chemistry? Question mark.
Thought would be easier to cut down tree together.
Yeah. Answers to name P. Bunyan. So we were watching the axe clanging cult, and this was the moment when, in real life, IRL, Dan was so excited he knocked over the cup of tea he had made for himself and spilled it all over the desk in my hotel room.
Yeah.
And he kept like muttering like, "Oh word, oh no."
Yeah, but more like Piglet. Yeah. Oh dear. Oh.
We all know I'd be in Eeyore.
Yeah, that's true. You would be an Eeyore. That's true. Would be. Are. Anyway, so this biker, it's not Sly Stallone. He goes to a supermarket. Understandable. That's where the food is. But he's not interested in food. Instead, he parks his motorcycle in a handicapped spot. So you know this guy is a bad dude.
Yeah, bad guy.
And he goes to the grocery store, and he's just knocking people aside. And then he takes out his pump-action shotgun, the official weapon of 1980s low-budget action movies, and just starts blasting all the produce.
Yeah, this is before Last Boy Scout, where we reach
Yes.
peak Uzi culture.
Yes,
right? This
Uzis
is
would-
pre-Uzi.
The late 80s, early 90s was Uzi times. But this is the kind of early to mid 80s where it was all about pump action shotguns. What's the weapon du jour of action movies now? Like, I saw that Oppenheimer, like atomic bombs?
I think so. Yeah.
Second Oppenheimer joke of the episode. Really going to date this episode in the future.
Like those swords with like a cool handle that has other like spikes on them.
And what movies is that in?
I like science fiction stuff. Sorry. I'm thinking about how we're still in the supermarket. But I do want, you make a good point, Elliot.
Yeah, we're
This
lost
man,
in the supermarket.
Thank you.
That's for the Clash fans in the audience. Yeah.
No, I was like the game that this movie is playing. Like, if you thought that Dirty Harry wasn't fascist enough, this is the movie for you.
So,
because
yes, this movie is, it's saying we need cops that will break every rule and every bone in a perpetrator's body. And what kind of world justifies that cop?
Yeah.
A world of non-stop random violence.
Cackling, maniacal, criminal, violent people with no particular motivation for anything they're doing.
As we'll learn later, they have a very good, if vague, and seemingly tacked on motivation.
I mean, if to put a bow on it, they even cast the serial killer from Dirty Harry to play a cop in this world.
That's how bad this world is. Scorpio from Dirty Harry is one of the cops in this
He's the
one.
voice of reason. He's the one like...
And he's the weak
Due
cop
process?
who's always like, Cobra, you really shouldn't have ripped that guy's throat out before we knew if he had parked in that handicap spot. Like, that's how bad this world is. Scorpio is the nice guy. So anyway, he's blasting stuff up. The weenie negotiator, Monty, played again by the Scorpio, whose name I can't remember. What's his real name?
Thank you. It's the husband from Hellraiser. The
Yeah,
one
but that's not his name.
He's
I think it is at this
His
point.
driver's license says Hellraiser, comma, the husband from.
I mean, if you polled everyone in the world, the percentage of people who mostly knew him as husband from Hellraiser over his real name would probably be
Fair point,
higher.
fair point.
And as we know, that's how you choose someone's name. It's by popular vote.
Yeah, everyone's name gets voted in the United States. I don't know how they do things here. In the United States, everyone votes on everybody's name all the time.
Yeah, I feel like even Julia in Hellraiser would be like, yeah, he's just the husband. I don't know.
So he's like a weenie negotiator. He represents all that Cobra says is wrong. He's shouting through a megaphone, "Just come out and talk to us. We want to help you. We promise we won't hurt you." And he's shooting people in the back with his shotgun. That's when the cop that's above him goes, "Call the Cobra." The Cobra gets called. He drives up in his old car.
Called a Dragula.
Yeah. And his car has the license Awesome 50. Awesome spelled AWSUM, I think it was. And Glasses Cop does not like that. He's like, I don't approve of his actions. Guys, when Cobra steps out, Cobretti, the cop, describe kind of his general look, his allure, kind of like what's his image?
Well, later he's described as like some sort of. They was like, reject from the 50s or something like that. Or,
yeah.
And there's nothing particularly 50s about it. He just has kind of like jeans and a black shirt.
Jeans,
but he's like
biker
sunglasses.
boots, trench coat, sunglasses, always.
He's always
matchstick,
always
always
chewing
in
on a
his mouth
matchstick.
until he
Yeah.
burns a guy alive later with it.
Yeah, with his one matchstick. Oh, I was good. Now I got to get a new one. I don't even know how you do that.
my best friend.
And of course,
I appreciate your sacrifice.
And he carries his signature weapon, a pistol with a Cobra on it, stuffed into his belt instead of in a holster or something.
Yeah, and he also has throwing knives. I don't know where he keeps those, but Cobra goes into this grocery store. He's stalking through. The baddie is trying to shoot him, and then he's ranting about how the people in here are trash. They deserve to die. This is a new world coming. And Cobra gets on the store PA and he goes, "It's time to waste you." and they have a standoff. The two of them at gunpoint. They're both holding guns, and the baddie is like, "I've got a bomb. I'm a hero of the new world." And he goes, "I'll blow up the whole store." And so Stallone has a number of very good quips in this movie. He goes, "That's okay. I don't shop here." And here's when he says the key line of the movie. He goes, "You're a disease, and I'm the cure." And he throws a throwing knife at him and then shoots him to death. So we're presenting a world where it's so dangerous. That you need a guy like Cobra. You want a guy like Cobra. You love a guy like Cobra.
Yeah, a man who is essentially a later Stallone character, Judge Dredd, in that he will, provide the sentence and carry it out himself.
But he doesn't wear a helmet.
Yeah.
That's the main difference. Not even when he rides like a motorcycle later on, which is a bad message for kids. So if any kids out there are watching Cobra, wear a
That's
helmet.
the message in Cobra, that we got to protect the kids.
Yeah. And Stallone, he gets him, and these reporters crowd him when he walks out. They're like, Cobretti, is this related to the Night Slasher? We're going to hear a lot about the Night Slasher in this movie. And this reporter goes, "Did you use unnecessary force? What makes you judge and jury?" And luckily, the dead body of one of the victims is lying right there with a blanket over him. And he gets mad and pushes the reporter at the body. He goes, "You tell his family." Oh! Anyway, and it's a terrible argument because...
Checkmate.
But we see Cobretti, he doesn't keep bullying people with his greater physical force just on the job. He does that at home too. He goes home, the parking spot he wants to get into is too small, and the car in front refuses to move, so he gets into his car and pushes their car ahead with his. Luckily, their car was in neutral, I guess, the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elliot, I'll be honest, when you say bullying people at home, I completely forgot about this, and I thought you were going to talk about that he bullied that piece of pizza.
We'll get there. And then,
slice of pizza. Charlene, I apologize.
And when the people... Yeah, piece of pizza? And the other people are like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they are very much stereotypical kind of Chicano, LA types that you would see in 80s movies. He gets mad and he grabs the undershirt collar of one of them and just rips it off of him.
Which the guy is like surprisingly chill about.
Yes. At that point, he's like,
I was going to rip it anyway. It's cooler this way.
I needed to get a new undershirt.
Shirt, yeah.
You know what? I know when I've been bested. By a man tearing my shirt up.
I don't like the violent hostility, but you could have punched me, you could have kicked me. Instead, you used your imagination. You ripped off the undershirt I was wearing under my other shirt. And
God
for that,
damn it, I respect it.
I commend your freedom and creativity. Cobra goes home, and then one moment after another is just so amazing. He picks up a newspaper.
Sorry, I'm just imagining that's the name of the sequel novel.
Cobra goes home. Yeah. Oh, it's my high school reunion, and I gotta go back to it, I guess.
Life has really changed for me in the years in between. I'm not where I thought it was going to be, I'll tell you that.
Written by R.A. Salvatore.
Huh? So Cobra, he picks up his newspaper, immediately throws it in his barbecue grill. Goes into his house because he doesn't care about the media. He goes into his house, opens the freezer, takes out a pizza box and an egg carton. He takes out a pair of scissors, cuts a little tiny triangle of pizza off the slice, and eats that. And then in the egg carton is just full of his gun maintenance collection.
It's already a triangle. And it's got a crust to hold onto. Why is he making it harder?
He's making a very important point about fractals. Because what is not made clear in the movie, but if you read the novel by Alan Dean Foster, it's all in there, that Cobretti has a PhD in mathematics.
Yeah.
I was trying to solve these Poincaré equations, but instead I got called up to service to fight crime.
Yep. We cut a triangle, just another triangle, Triangles all the way.
Yeah. Is that...
What?
The lesson you want us to walk away with?
That's the lesson of Cobra. That's what I took away from Cobra.
So I took away from it, you gotta wear a helmet when you ride a motorcycle. And you took triangles all over? What was it? It's a triangle world?
Yeah. Hey, baby, triangles all over.
You ever tried angles? So anyway, the news on TV while he's cleaning his gun with his frozen gun maintenance kit. Maybe that's how you do it. I don't have a gun. I don't know. Does it have to be super cold to clean a gun with? I don't know. The news is talking about there's another victim of the night slasher, a serial killer, identity unknown, and there's no theme to the victims. Everyone is a possible victim of the night slasher, and he seems to use household simple weapons.
There's so many
tools.
notes in that notebook.
Yeah. Get ready. Anyway, we see then we cut to there's a waitress going home at night. She's attacked by masked guys with axes. They kill her. It's this axe cult. The cops are talking, and Cobra's like, I think there's more than one killer at work. He has nothing to base this on, but Cobra's just that good a cop. He just knows. And Glass's cop is like, you shouldn't be involved. And Cobra's like, we're going to lose as long as they play by the rules and we don't. No, as long as we play by the rules and they don't. I don't remember when I wrote the movie.
I want to see this one man, Elliot Kalin. One man, one night only, Cobra.
Elliot Kalin is Sylvester Stallone as Cobra.
Yeah.
And everyone else.
And everyone else. Parentheses, and everyone else in Cobra tonight. You won't let me go after those people. You shouldn't go after those people, Cobra, but I gotta go after those people. Sorry, Cobra, you can't go after those people. That scene goes on for a while.
He did it, raves the Times.
but why? Questions the Times after.
And he has like a sidekick who wears a little cap, right? Who likes junk food.
Yes. Yeah. He has his sidekick who's Sergeant Gonzalez.
I like that you're like, is that his trainer? Because he does.
Yeah.
It's like a Burgess Meredith style
he's wearing a little old-fashioned cabbie cap, and he doesn't dress. He's not in uniform or anything, and he doesn't do anything except talk about junk food for most of the movie. And they have They always have back and forth banter. Cobra's always like, you gotta start eating right. You can't eat all this junk food. And he's like, oh, but I love junk food. It's all I want to eat. And again, this is a good message for the kids. Balanced diet, please. Don't be like with Sergeant Gonzalez. You gotta eat good things. Anyway.
And also, this is the flavoring of the movie that I like the best.
Yes.
Wacky crap that doesn't have anything to do with I don't know, the politics of it.
Yeah.
There's another victim of the Axe Maniacs, but they're not wearing their pantyhose masks this time. And Brigitte Nielsen is driving by to what appears to be a modeling shoot that was scheduled for 10:30 p.m. or 11 p.m. And she sees the face of the guy who commits the murder, which, as we'll find out, is the leader of this axe cult. And we find out after that, the woman who is part of this murder, she's a cop too. Oh no, one of the cops is a bad guy. They're not all good cops, just Cobretti, and to a lesser extent Gonzalez. But even he has a fatal flaw of loving junk food, which, as you all know, traditionally each hero has to have a heroic flaw. His is his love of junk food.
Is that what they were trying to convey with the idea that he was cutting off just a little bit of pizza?
Maybe that he's watching his calories.
I guess so.
It reminds me of my favorite line that Stallone has in Tango and Cash.
Yeah.
When he jumps out from behind the refrigerator of a dirty cop who set him up and sent him to jail. A dirty cop is, I think, just holding a bowl of pasta that was just in the fridge or something like that. And he goes, "Well, it's obvious from your diet you're not watching your calories. Seems you were leaning too. You were just watching the money they paid you to set us up." And it's such a stretch. It is not a Cobra level quip, but I love it. And he's really got to rush to get it out.
Watching that money.
Oh yeah. So we know there's someone on the inside, and she looks up the witness's license plate to find out who owns that car on an old-time computer. And the police captain is like, "We've got no leads, Cobra. Okay, you're on the job. You and your friend, the cab driver / your trainer, you're going to shake down the town and do what you do." And this leads to the most amazing montage maybe since Sergei Eisenstein invented the technique. And I know he didn't realize, I guess what, Kuleshov did? I'm not a cinema studies major. Anyway, so these are the 3 strains of this montage. Stallone and his partner walk in the streets, which are mainly covered in homeless people, and going into places and asking people questions. Brigitte Nielsen doing the photo shoot in which she is wearing different outfits around different antique statues of robots. And a few shots of the bad guy just kind of looking mean and holding his knife and stuff like that. But the montage starts intercutting Stallone and the robots, and you're like, so are there robots in this movie?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
and the robots are lighting up in a way where you're like,
well,
they
yeah.
know what's going on.
No,
Yeah.
the montage ends with this ominous music and the lights shutting off, except for the robot's eyes being on. And you're like, is this going to turn into a movie about how these robots kill people?
Do they know they're in the photo shoot?
Yeah.
And the photo shoot is being done by David Rash, TV Sledgehammer, also in Succession, et cetera, et cetera.
Burn
Yeah,
after
yeah.
reading.
Burn After Reading. He's like a dad in some Ashton Kutcher movie.
Yeah, he gets killed almost immediately,
Yes,
which is a disappointment.
He hits on Ingrid, the model, and then gets instantly killed by the Axe people as they attack them. Oh, no, I forgot. There's great. The music in this movie is great, and the montage is set to a song called "Angel of the City," and it's amazing. Anyway, so the photographer, he gets killed. A nerdy bystander who just seems to be walking out of a store gets killed, and then they step on his glasses after he's dead, which is adding insult to injury. Those glasses belong to his family now.
Yeah.
Now he has nothing to leave them. This security guard, she runs off to him, and she's like, "Help me!" And he starts firing his gun at the bad guys, and they ram a van into him. So,
And it's like one of many very good practical stunts.
yes.
Like it's very intense and I don't know, it's
There's
cool.
a number of stunts here where you're like, whoa, that's a good stunt. I hope nobody got hurt doing that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
later on in the movie, people are just flying off on motorcycles, wearing helmets, thankfully.
I hate to sound like an old man, but it's way too late for that. No, I mean, like this movie, like we were saying, it comes from a time where even the worst movies kind of looked beautiful because they had to shoot them in real places. They had to light for film, so they had to actually think about them. I mean, like, not everything.
Yeah, like the
but,
shootout in the grocery store where they're like, why is there so much dry ice in here?
Well, I remember watching it, Stuart, you were like, who turned off all the lights in the grocery store? But yeah,
it looks fucking cool.
it's a good looking movie. It is
and not just
super
Stallone, who
dumb.
looks incredible.
yeah.
And
it's-
the director's son went on to make Mandy and other movies. So
Did you research that, or you just? they
yeah,
just
no,
did that?
I
Okay.
researched it.
Yeah. So do you imagine as a kid he was on the Cobra set walking around?
He's got to have been on the Cobra
What
set.
a lucky kid. If I could do anything to be that boy. If I could just change places with him. Guys, find me a magic fountain that I can pee in with him and then go back in time.
Okay, yeah.
Because I don't want to be
It has to be the P scenario, though. It can't be
name
like
me another way to switch bodies with
touching
somebody.
a skull at the same time.
skulls.
Yeah, magic. Yeah, it's
Sometimes
real.
Making
real.
a wish.
Yeah, magic skulls. That's a real thing, Dan. Give me a magic fountain.
making a wish
You
on
know,
a Friday.
go down to like Coney Island and like get the Zoltar statue.
Yeah, well,
or-
that's not what
that's
happens
not
in
a
that
switch,
movie,
actually.
but
That's
yeah.
just a big situation. But I bet he could do a swap.
Okay,
If you
yeah.
asked him for a swap specifically.
I mean,
think.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty fucked up. I mean, like, he's still a little kid, and that lady, oh, man, that's messed up, right?
But she doesn't
we
know he's a
didn't
little
need to
kid.
go down that road. We
But,
didn't.
I mean, I
I
didn't think so
agree
either.
with you, but
Look, it's hard to talk about Big without talking about two things. How it's about a little kid who has sex with a lady, and also that the toys that company makes, even when he gives them advice, are not good. It's not a good toy company.
Yeah.
Take that, toy company and
Also,
Big.
that keyboard thing is bullshit.
Tell me, okay, speak to it. Tell me your truth about it. Speak your truth about Big.
It kind of sucks as a toy, and it breaks easily. That's all.
Okay, so you're saying that Robert Loggia and Tom Hanks wouldn't really be able to dance chopsticks on that. Not in real life. That was just movie magic.
I mean, they could.
That's the kind of practical
Let's test
stunt we're
it.
talking about.
Come out here.
Okay, everybody, enough about Big. This isn't the Big episode of the podcast. This is the Cobra episode of the podcast because there's no one bigger than Sylvester Stallone. Anyway, so the police show up, the bad guys run off. Ingrid has been saved. She's interviewed by Cobretti and Gonzalez, and the evil lady cop is kind of watching her through a window. And she tells them the least amount of information she could possibly get away with. They're like, why do you come after you? You owe anyone money? No. You involved with drugs or people who do drugs or sell drugs? She goes, no, which is bullshit. She's in the fashion industry. I'm sorry. And then she's like, you know what? Earlier in the night, I drove by a man and he scared me. And they're like, what? He just looks scary. What time was that around? 10 o'clock. And he's like, that's the airtight lead we need. She drove by a scary guy. And the ex-cult leader, and so tell us about who his name in the credits is just Night Slasher. But where else have we seen him?
He's the alien bounty hunter from X-Files, who's the judge in Buffy. He was he's a punks in Terminator.
With Bill Paxton.
He's all over genre movies because he's
Yes.
like a big, distinctive-looking guy.
Yeah. He is just sharpening knives, and he's putting so much effort into it that he's coated in sweat.
I fucking love this movie. It has a hero and a villain, both with like signature weapons. Like, he's got this like +5 dagger with spikes. Like, I love that shit.
And he keeps it sharp. He takes good care of it. Yeah.
But he's totally a sword guy. He loses that thing, he's fucking done, man. He doesn't have unarmed combat.
And he has some pretty bad roles later on. That's part of it also. The evil lady cop is like, let me kill her for you, and he goes, no, this one's mine. And she's in the hospital still, Ingrid, because she was so frightened so badly, I guess. And Cobretti and Cobretti's like, you're gonna have to stay here under guard, and then offers Gonzalez whatever she has left over from her hospital food, and he just takes it. And at no point is she like, what are you doing? Like, what? You're gonna eat my leftovers? I'm supposed to trust you as protection now? This is Cobra and Gonzalez, they banter a little bit about whether she's attractive or not. And Cobra goes home, and those punks whose undershirts he ripped, they respect him now. They respect his strength. Cobretti does some computer research at home on a very old-timey computer. And meanwhile, the cult leader is entering the hospital. He kills a janitor, steals the uniform. The uniform fits him perfectly, despite him being a foot and a half taller.
Yeah, it's Age of 47.
It's the traveling. It's the secret of the traveling janitor's onesie. What are those called? Jumpsuits? Not onesies. It's legless.
They are generally called jumpsuits instead of onesies.
But you're saying
that.
janitors don't routinely wear outfits that are legless and snap at the crotch for ease of diaper changing?
And say, my daddy loves pavement.
Yeah. No, it's one of those.
That's like a Brooklyn-specific sort of onesie.
It could be one of those onesies they sell at tourist spots that are like, I'm why mommy drinks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't like them. I don't like them. I'm not saying that approvingly.
It's wine o'clock somewhere. And you're like, kid, you're a baby. Calm down.
You're scaring this baby straight. We talk to you, baby.
You got your whole life ahead of you. You don't want to get in jail. You know what they do to babies in jail?
What do you got to be stressed about, baby, huh? Come on.
I mean, babies have a lot to be stressed about. Their mom walks out of the room. They don't know if she's ever coming back. Maybe she doesn't exist anymore.
You know what? I shouldn't make fun of babies' pain just because it's different from my own.
That's Dan. I'm glad that we opened your mind about babies. Now you're an ally.
They're all right.
All right, raves Dan McCoy on Human Young.
Yeah, you don't put babies in corners.
No, you never do that. You never put babies in corners.
Thank you. What if they're getting a timeout?
Why would you give a baby a timeout? They don't understand why they're being disciplined, Dan. They're babies. Where? That's enough out of you. Timeout.
Do you think
this is the only way I know how to communicate. Where?
Do you think Do you think the big lift dance move in Dirty Dancing is because her name's
It's much
Baby?
easier with a baby?
They're like, well, her name's Baby. That's what you do with babies.
Yeah. I mean, you don't usually do that
do
with
a
babies.
Lion
What,
King.
what do you do with them then?
You do what J. Orbach does, and you carry around Jennifer Grey in a Bjorn strapped to your chest. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
This is what, I still love carrying you around, baby. And she's like, okay, I guess it is my nickname. I guess you do have to carry me around in this thing. And then he's feeding her, like, strained peas and things like that. Or...
Sure, build out the world.
So anyway, the cult leader gets real distracted from mission 1, which is killing the witness, and decides to go after a nurse just because the movie needs another body to get killed. He's about to he sneaks into Ingrid's room. He's about to stab her bed when he has the strangest non sequitur, which is, he just goes, pretty hair, and then stabs her bed. She wasn't even in it. She walks out of the bathroom and is surprised to see him, which is like, did he imagine the hair, or...
We must have not been paying attention, and she put like a wig in there, and that was like
She like Home Alone,
a
she had Ferris
clumsy
Bueller'd it? I don't know.
screenwriter's way of being like, this will really underline what's going on rather than confusing it.
And the weirdest thing before this is, part of his trap for the nurse he killed is that he goes into an old lady's room and puts the janitor's mop in the bed with her, as if that's making the nurse think that he's actually in the bed and not her. She's like, oh, long, stringy, greasy hair attached to a metal mop head. But anyway, he's after her. She locks herself in the bathroom. He stabs through the door of the bathroom. Meanwhile, Cobretti's finally there, but he doesn't get there in time to save her. She runs into the hallway because the bathroom has a back door that exits on the hallway. Which seems, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in hospitals these days, but the bathrooms routinely have a public door and a private door?
You know what? I can't speak to that, but I do know that there's a supreme lack of privacy in hospitals. So maybe they just do it to add a little less privacy. Like, what can we do here to minimize it?
We already see everyone's butts all the time. Mm-hmm. So she pulls off the fire alarm. The hall's flooded with people. The cult leader, knowing he's not going to get her this time, he leaves. The next day, Cobretti's like, this cult's got to have somebody on the inside. And they're like, prove it. And he's like, well, I can't. If I could, I'd be doing something about it already. If I could, I'd tell you earlier if I had proof.
Yeah.
Everyone's mad at him. They're so mad at him.
A lot of scenes of people just yelling one line back to...
You got a lot of nerve, Cobretti. And he's like, yeah, but the nerve I got is pretty good, or something like that, you know. Actually, the real one, they go, you got a real attitude problem. He goes, yeah, but it's just a little one, which is a line that sounds really good. And then you think about it, you're like, his attitude problem is enormous. Like he's a.
I think he's being facetious, though.
I guess that's true. Yeah, facetious is like Confucius, but he doesn't mean it.
Yeah, it's like, why did you believe all that things I said? All those aphorisms. They don't make that much sense if you think about them for more than just a little bit.
I mean, see, when my disciples collected my analects into one book, they couldn't put winking in parentheses in front of every one of them.
JK was the end of a lot of these. I don't...
So they got to take Ingrid to a safe house. Cobretti, Gonzalez, and mean evil lady cop, because there are no other police officers, I guess. They take her, and Stallone's like, why? There were cops on guard at Ingrid's hospital room. Why were they removed? And Glass's cop is like, I don't know. Find it out yourself, dude. And they don't. They don't bother to look into it. But as they're driving away, the Axe cult again makes another strange move. This is a secret underground cult that kills at night. They decide to send kills people with axes. They send 2 carloads of people with guns to chase after them in broad daylight, and this leads
like
to...
a witness who may have seen somebody do something.
Certainly, this witness would not stand up in court. Oh, I saw that person and they were scary. Did you see them committing a crime? Isn't being scary a crime? Of course not. If it was, then R.L. Stein would have been locked up a long time ago. And now, can you point out to the court the man who gave you goosebumps? It's okay, he can't hurt you now. It was that man.
We find you innocent of goosebumps, but guilty of the lesser charge of goose pimples.
Yeah, he plea bargained it. Yeah. So there's a big car chase. It's honestly, guys, how would you describe this car chase? Awesome or extremely awesome?
There's a lot of slow-mo jumping in the air as they go over hills, and it's like it's the same hills sort of 3 times because it is that awesome.
Yeah, and we see it multiple times. Cobra, when he finally pulls out a machine gun, he like shoots a car to pieces or something like that.
Yeah, he basically skins the car like he's peeling an apple. He shoots it, and somehow like like the carapace comes off.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm not really sure.
I do love that he's like, I have this witness that I'm trying to protect in the car. I'm going to chase these fuckers.
Yeah. Well, so Isaac Asimov's 3 rules of Cobrotics tell us that, number 1, kill bad guys. Law number 2, protect good guys unless it conflicts with law number 1. Law number 3, cut up that pizza smaller. Unless it conflicts with law 2 or law 1. Yeah. So if a bad guy was like, you can kill me or you can cut up pizza, obviously Cobra has to follow the first law and kill him. Yeah. But on the other hand, if it's like, don't do it, Cobra, don't cut up that pizza because it's attached to a bomb that'll destroy a good guy, then he goes, oh, I can't do it. Law 2 supersedes law 3.
Yeah.
I mean, the things you're saying are dumb, but I admire the skill for which, like the speed at which you sort of like came through with what would the logic be of these scenarios?
Yeah, sure. I spent a lot of time thinking about Asimov's laws in case I ever become a robot.
In case you need to.
Yeah, in case I ever got to program a robot for a fashion shoot.
I don't want this robot to kill Brigitte Nielsen, so I better put some safeguards in here.
Yeah, so eventually the hunter becomes the hunted. Stallone's going after the bad guys, flips his nitrous boost, the thing that you think you would do the first to get away from the bad guys, but no. And eventually the bad guys get away. They manage to crash into a boat that's on the land.
Yeah.
Nighttime. The superiors are like, Cobretti, you almost killed the witness, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I want to take the Ingrid out of town for her protection. And Glasses Cop is like, did you have to kill so many people? And Cobretti is going to punch him. But they agree, let Cobra take the witness outside. Worst case scenario, at least all the violence that trails him everywhere will be outside of the city. And that plan works. And Gonzalez and Bad Guy Cop go along also. On the drive, we get finally some talking time between Cobretti and Ingrid. And he gets to explain to Ingrid that when he arrests people, the judges just let them go. And Ingrid is like, that makes me sick. And I'm like, well, that's how it works. I mean, like, that's what happens.
It's called the criminal justice system, and it's not your job to circumvent it, Cobra.
No, but I mean also that kind of conversion where she's like, oh, I think the law is a good thing. He's like, actually, it's not. Let me red pill you.
Yeah.
I was doing my own research, and it turns out judges are just letting people go.
Yeah. I mean, this is her equivalent of being like, tell me about Quentin Tarantino movies.
Yeah.
This is also like... where she like falls in love with him during the course of one scene for no particular reason.
Yeah, well, because they're all weird people.
Is this where they're stopped at the roadside?
Tell us. So they stop at a.
It's like a novelty stand on the like. It has a.
It's like a gas
rubber chicken hanging.
It's a roadside stand where you would expect to see fresh produce, but as Dan is saying, it's selling novelties and like goofy things.
Like you'd be driving down the road and be like, oh, you know what? I did need some X-ray specs. Hold on, let me stop real quick for this.
A bobblehead wearing a Padres uniform and a rubber chicken. Okay.
Could I have the gum that snaps your finger when you try and take a piece?
Oh, is this locally made? No? Oh, okay, I'll buy it anyway.
Yeah, we raise our own whoopee cushions here at the farm. Yeah. Oh, well, you can really tell the difference. You can
now,
really
is this
tell
actual peanut butter? Oh, no, it is snakes. Okay, I'll take the snakes.
Open that slowly. Open that slowly. Now we have the ones that come with real snakes and the ones that come with fake snakes. The real snakes, that would be really dangerous. They're dead. They don't even pop out.
It's just kind of gross.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Logically, it makes sense to me now that a snake wouldn't do well just stuck in a can. No, they do very badly. I tell you, whoever can crack keeping a snake alive in a can will be a millionaire someday.
Build a better snake trap.
Mm-hmm. They said it couldn't be done, and yet my son has figured out how to do it. Oh, no, he didn't. No. It's dead again. I'm sorry I called all the assembled press here for this conference.
To this roadside novelty stand. Please, take a free whoopee cushion as you go.
Well, that story didn't pan out, but now Geraldo's going to open up Al Capone's vault. Yeah. Let's see how that turns out. It's the 80s. Okay, so meanwhile, the Axe Cult is doing... Oh, this is when Gonzalez goes, hey, you should call Cobra this, and whispers something. And she comes over and goes, oh, nice to meet you, Marion Cobretti. That's his name, Marion Cobretti.
What the fuck?
What? This tough guy? His name is Marion? Why, you'd have to be fucking John Wayne to be named Marion, because that's his actual name. Anyway... and later on he's like, yeah, you get beat up a lot as a kid. That's why I'm tough and I kill people. Because I had a name like that. Meanwhile, the Axe Cult is doing what they do best. Hanging out in the sewers, banging their axes together.
Clanging.
Maybe that's how they talk to each other. Is that?
Yeah. They can't hear shit anymore because of all the clanging.
Yeah.
They click at each other like mimics.
And for some reason, they make another stop. They stop at a burger place where we get to see Sylvester Stallone's funny side. He picks up a big novelty hamburger and he's like, oh, they make them pretty big over here, don't they? And he's like, she puts so much ketchup on her fries. It's like, oh, your fries, they're drowning. Oh, I need a lifesaver for those fries.
He's got a lot of food material, this guy. Just let me fucking eat, Sly.
On the way over to the safe house, we got to stop at this one burger place. I got a lot of site-specific material. It doesn't work anywhere else.
You won't believe this hamburger they got.
Yeah, I always go ahead of time to check out where we're going to stop so I can come up with some material.
Funny there, you know?
It's what I'm famous for. Well, I think you're mostly famous for killing criminals without reading them their rights or anything like that. Yeah, but it's the comedy that I want to be known for.
Yeah.
You know, comedy is really art when you think about it. Oh, boy. Okay. Is Nanette stand-up? I don't know. Cobra, we don't need to hear it. We don't need it. Okay. And she is coming on to him hard. She goes, do you ever date women? And he's like, you'd have to be crazy to date me, which is notably self-knowledging. Yeah. So, and he's still dismayed at how she puts even more ketchup on it. Just cuts to a shot of his face, and he's like, what? Do I want to date this woman?
So much sugar and acid in there.
Your vinegar intake is too high. I've been giving my partner guff about it, but at least he puts a reasonable amount of ketchup on these French fries.
Is that a red flag for you, Elliot?
Yeah, it's as red as the sauce itself. No, Stuart, it's not. Because you know what? I truly believe ketchup is the humble, everyman king of the condiments. Not a joke.
Unless it's
just
in one of those jars where someone has an old-timey mustache.
Oh, you mean Sir Kensington's ketchup? So my kids...
I don't want to call anyone out by name. They might,
I'll do it. So in my family, there's a big ketchup battle. My sister hates ketchup. She's not a part of it. She refuses to pick a side, which I think is immoral. But anyway, Heinz ketchup... It's the biggest ketchup in the world. There's this fancier ketchup called Sir Kensington's that has a man in a mustache on the label. My children are not a fan of this ketchup. I think it's fine. It's just ketchup. But every time I go to the store, I go, guess what? They had your favorite ketchup, Sir Kensington's, and they get so mad. Anyway, feel free to sponsor our show, Sir Kensington's. It's night at the motel. Oh, so now the Axe cult, they arm up, they get guns, they get on their motorcycles, they are riding.
And we learned that this like roadside bar and town they're staying in is a foundry town. That's important because that's going to be the location for the final battle. A foundry that I guess just makes sparks and flames and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a make-work project. Yeah, it's just to employ people. There's a big crane on a chain that just goes back and forth, doesn't really do much of anything. So yeah, they're in an old foundry town. They stay at a motel that night, and Cobra catches the evil cop using a payphone. It was very suspicious, but not for the reasons he thinks it is. He's like, where's Gonzalez? And she's like, oh, he's asleep in the room. Well, why didn't you use the phone in the room? And it's like, well, she just told you he's asleep. Like, what kind of jerk uses the phone in the room when someone's sleeping there? But he thinks it's very suspicious. And she's like, it was broken. It's like, all you have to tell him is he's sleeping. Anyway. This
really hit a nerve with you.
It did. I feel like, I don't like it when when something is supposed to be like the key that tips someone off about something, but it is a dumb thing that should not do it. Oh, well, why'd you shoot that one? How'd you know that was one of the kidnappers, not one of the hostages? His shoes. Really? You know that much about shoes? Yeah. He was wearing kidnapper shoes.
I hate the ones where there's like, I never said their name. I'm like, I know that with my memory, I could easily say someone's name and then forget I said it. I'm just like, yeah, if you say that I told you your name, I trust you, man. Like, how else would you know? Certainly not some evil scheme,
And also, usually they think they're probably pretty good about not saying stuff they're not supposed to know.
Yeah. These are evil masterminds we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. They're masterminds.
We're constantly coming up against them.
That's why we need a Cobra. Anyway, Ingrid is watching Sylvester Stallone put guns together, and she is so turned on that she has to call him over to the bed so they can start making out.
I mean, the gun has a laser sight, man. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's like a future gun. That's true. Yeah, the next morning, the bad cop is gone. Uh-oh, the Axe cult arrives. The bad cop is pointing out where everyone else is. They attack this roadside motel. There's so much shooting. They're just destroying this place with guns.
And grenades and fire bombs and motorcycles and everything.
Yeah, all the weapons in the rainbow.
The weapons rainbow.
Yeah, Gonzalez.
Back in the 80s, we had the weapons pyramid that we had.
Yeah, and they decided to put more Uzis in, I guess. And
No, you don't
grenades.
actually need this many Uzis per day.
So Gonzalez gets shot. Oh no, there's a lot of great stunt falls. Ah!
And there's some good bits. I like that there's an evil sniper guy in the Axe cult who every time he like lifts his sniper rifle up, the camera like cuts to like sniper vision for a second.
So the first shot, that first shot is a fantastic shot where you're looking at the motel and then the sniper scope lifts up into frame so that it becomes that you're now looking through the scope. That was a cool shot.
Yeah, it's great.
That should be on that One Perfect Shot Twitter feed, that whose standards are kind of up and down, a little iffy at times, but
Yeah, Dan.
Wait, you want us to
you know this
debate
guy- you
you
know
on
this-
this?
I'm coming up with hot
Yeah,
take after hot take. Catch up is great. That
Guess
Twitter
I'll
feed is
fucking
okay.
tweet at him right now.
Do it.
Skeet or whatever.
Ask
the
them why
bullshit
they're
is.
Cobra deniers. Come on. Anyway, so they escape. Ingrid and Sly. They escape in a truck. Sly's in the flatbed of the truck, pickup truck, just shooting people. This is
Blasting.
the platonic ideal of an action movie. Just a man standing up in a moving pickup truck with a machine gun, shooting motorcycle riders. They have to smash through a flaming car barricade, which makes them get out of the car the truck for some
Yeah,
reason.
some guy climbs on the hood of the car, falls off, gets run over.
Yeah.
It's great.
Now they're running on foot through an orange grove. They're making use of the space, like any great mime artist.
yeah.
They get separated. Ingrid runs into the foundry, pursued by the evil cop. She shoots the controls in such a way that it starts the foundry up, which is, I guess, a fail-safe mechanism. They're like, well, what if we lose the key to the machine?
Don't worry.
Don't worry, it's made so that if you shoot it, it turns on. Okay, what if it gets shot by accident by like an ex-cult cop? I don't think that's gonna happen.
And also, don't shoot anywhere around it, or else it'll just ricochet and hurt you.
Yeah, we are surrounded by metal. Don't do that. The cult leader finally shows up. He's tired of letting his goons do their work and is stalking Ingrid through this flaming sparks factory. And Sly Stallone's setting traps for all these cult members. He puts a grenade somewhere and then waits for them to walk over to it and then shoots the grenade to blow them up. And it's like, that seems time-consuming. And you're really hoping that they walk by that one spot.
You could just throw the grenade at them.
Yeah.
It only now occurred to me that
Or even
what
just
one normally
use two
does with a
bullets.
grenade.
Yeah, if he just fires 2 bullets, one into each guy, he succeeds.
Yeah, he has both a gun and
Yeah.
a grenade, and he's not using either of them
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah. I mean,
They
like,
do not need to be used in tandem.
Yeah.
look, I get you want style points, okay? It's a
Yeah.
multiplier for your total score.
But it's true. It is like turning on a TV so that so that your other TV that's attached to the clapper will turn on when it hears the sound of that TV. It seems like an extra unnecessary step. He does cover someone with gasoline and then just throws a match on them and burns them alive.
Yeah.
It's like at that point it's gratuitous. Like that's
We haven't gotten to the most gratuitous kill.
Yeah.
The biggie.
Gratuitous Kill is a great name from an 80s action movie.
Yeah.
Why did they make that? Dan, why didn't you make that?
I guess I'll go through the portal of time or
Yeah.
porthole of time. I even fucking fucked up my own thing.
You did.
Guys, Dan
I
fucked
even
up his own
fucking
thing.
fucked up my own thing. Dan McCoy.
But like gratuitous kill, what we got like a killer looking through the blinds at like a lady changing.
Yeah, so it starts,
Shannon
it
tweeds
starts
inside.
with a lady changing. We pull back to show that's a video on a screen being watched by another lady who's changing.
I didn't know this was a Brian De Palma movie.
Yep. Then we
Yeah.
pull back to reveal that this is actually being watched through a window by a naked lady, and she kills the lady, but in a way where the bullet also hits the TV. The screen, it doesn't break the TV. There's just a bullet hole over the heart of the visual image. Cut to the cops are like, the naked lady killer struck again. What are we gonna do? What can we do? And me and Saul Gratuitous, the like over the edge cop, he's like, you gotta send me out there. I'm the only one who can do it. Saul Gratuitous, we only send you into the worst of worst situations. And for some reason, a serial killer does not meet that definition for some reason.
Every time we send you out, you kill at least 3 more people than you need to.
Yeah. Hey, let's just say I get the most from my money. He's got a lot of those kinds of lines. It's an extra added value.
Yeah, not even bang for your buck. I mean, that's more obvious, right?
Well, he's workshopping a lot of these. He's
We're
workshopping a lot
so
of these.
close to the end of Cobra. We gotta push through. We gotta.
All right, we'll tell you more about Gratuitous Kill some other time, I guess.
can't.
So,
TM.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, copyright us. Don't anyone steal it. Come on. So only the cult leader's left alive, and he's doing his classic rant. There's a new world coming. We're paving it. We have to kill the weak so the strong survive. We are the future. It is a very messy
he makes
philosophy.
a lot of good points now that I think about it.
And also, I feel like Cobra would follow a lot of these
Well,
beliefs.
if this was a better movie, I mean, if this was another kind of bad movie, you'd say, we're not so different, you and I. But if this was a better movie, they do a better job of drawing a parallel where, like, yeah, the world they're creating is the world Cobra thinks he lives in and wants to live in, because then he can do whatever he wants. But this is a movie that I think, for some reason, they can't make that connection. And maybe it's where Sylvester Stallone's head was at the time, that he's like, can you believe this bad guy doing this thing? Anyway, the good guy who does the same thing, he's cool.
Yeah, no, it's literally a good guy with a gun argument.
Yeah. Or in this case, a knife, or versus a chain, which becomes just a bare hands at a certain point. Anyway, he's like, Cobra, you won't kill me. You have to take me, and even I have rights. And then the courts will call me insane and let me go. And Cobra, he goes...
And like at this point, he has shown no compunction to kill anybody.
If ever there was a guy that this speech doesn't work with, it is Cobretti. The guy who's just mowed down every single one of your followers.
Yeah. Cobra at this point is like, allow me to present my rebuttal, which is to take him, put him on a hook, and then push him into some fire.
Yeah, kills it. They have a fight and they do it, but it's not since I saw Dial of Destiny, where the bad guys are so kill crazy, and then when they are in a room with the two heroes, and they're like, give us the thing or we'll kill you. And it's like, you killed the guy who opened the gate for you at the airport. Just like, shoot them both. What are you doing? Anyway, they have a big fight. It ends with Sylvester Stallone, Texas Chainsaw Massacring this guy by just impaling him on a giant hook, which pulls him into fire. And Sylvester and Ingrid reunite. Police descend on the area. Gonzalez is alive and asks for some gummy bears. And the police boss is like, you did a good job, Cobra. You need anything, tell me. And Cobra goes, I need my car replaced. And he goes, it's not in the budget. And walks away.
Great fucking moment, honestly.
Yeah.
I was thinking more in the case like you need someone to house sit while you recover on a vacation or something. And Weenie Cop, he taunts Cobra. He's like, no hard feelings, but you didn't really have to do all that stuff. And Cobra punches him. And the audience at that point, I guess, is supposed to go nuts cheering.
Yeah, this was the stand-up and cheer moment at the Oscars that year. Actually.
Yeah. They were like, well, we wish we could stand up and cheer at the Flash entering a Speed Force, but it hasn't happened yet.
Or
someday. So, yeah, you're right. Time travel. And Cobra and Ingrid, they drive away on one of the dead Axe Cult members' motorcycles, I assume, not wearing helmets, to a sort of sub-Springsteen-ish song.
Yeah. And now the story of Cobra has been immortalized in the oral tradition for future generations.
Yeah. I'll pass down the tale of Cobra to my children, who will pass it down to their children. Until someday...
They're like, why do they call him that, Papa? Is he a reptile?
And I'll say, yeah, you love animals, sure. Yeah, he's a Cobra man, sure. Like in that old anti-drug PSA. Oh, you remember that, when a guy turns into a Cobra? Or that character from Jonah Hex, the movie? Oh, the Snake Man in Jonah Hex? Yeah.
Or like those car commercials, the like security system where the burglar's reaching for the car, but he keeps seeing a snake in the window.
Yeah,
all snake things. But now is the part of the show.
I love the idea. We go to do a show in a different country, and we're like, remember all these ads from when we were kids, where we grew up?
Advertisements.
Hey, you guys remember those ads for Beaucraft Amusement Park, the New York area amusement park?
You guys know the ads for Menards, the Midwestern
You remember
furniture?
when Room Plus was having their just round the corner sale?
This is the part where we say our final judgments, whether this is a good, bad movie, a bad movie, or a movie we kind of like. This straddles a couple categories in that morally I find it to be a good, bad movie in the sense that, like, I enjoy laughing at how outside of my own views this movie is.
Does he like to laugh at people who share different views than you? Interesting. How typical.
I am both enjoying it ironically and unironically at the same time because I grew up in the 80s and this sort of trash action has a lot of pull for me.
Traction.
But also, like, I kind of like it because it has that Canon Pictures thing where it is working overtime to entertain you, the whole time. Whether or not it's doing it with good stuff or nutritious art.
Nutritious art.
Not really, but it's fun.
I imagine an ad for the French Tourism Board hires you to do ads, and there's one where you're taking a bite of the Mona Lisa, and you're like, art, it's good for you. And they're like, why did we do this? Why did we hire him to eat our paintings?
I'm just acknowledging that it is the junkiest of movie junk food.
Very much so.
It's fun. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like a movie equivalent of a Benjamin Marra comic. And I mean, I feel like, I don't know, it's still a movie I kind of like. It's so dumb, and it's obviously the message is terrible. But I do love the fact that the bad guys are a fucking axe cult. Like, I feel like if this movie was made these days, but it can't be. But if it was made now, the axe cult would be like fucking vampires or something dumb. But in this case, it's just like a bunch of dudes who clang axes together.
And they make a point, they're like, anyone could be in this cult. And there's one guy wearing a suit who's in the meetings, but you never see him in a fight. The only guy is just like biker dudes that are in the fights.
Yeah.
This movie gets every category for me. Morally, it is a bad movie. It's a bad message that this world is such a hell pit of violence that we need a man who will kill in order to keep things in line. But it's also a good bad movie because it's super fun. But I also really like it. It hits every time I've watched it. I'm always like, this movie. I'm going to hate this movie. And then it gets the action scenes, and I'm like, that car just flipped over. And I'm such a sucker for Sylvester Stallone quipping. Like, I feel like this is top tier Stallone junk, for sure. He's made good movies. If you want a good Stallone movie, go see Creed. If you want a movie that is like the Stalloniest Stallone in a junky way, then the Cobra's it pushes the buttons. Yeah, it checks off those boxes. Is that what you check?
Yeah, I think so.
check
To make sure there's no snakes inside them?
Yeah, that's what the PSA told us in the 70s. Check a box to see if there's a snake inside.
Not so fast, little Johnny. Check that box to make sure there's not a snake inside it.
There was a snake inside.
Glad I checked it.
Really? That's the first time that's ever happened. Well, I guess this whole PSA outlay of money was worth it.
I'm Chubby Checker for box checking. Don't forget to check your boxes for snakes.
Maybe. Don't twist yourself in knots with worry. What are we doing?
No, you can go on some more. I bet you got some more gas in the tank on that one.
I'm Fats Domino. Before you put those boots on, there might be a scorpion inside. Check your boots for scorpions.
Soundheap with John Luke Roberts is a real podcast made up of fake podcasts. Like, if you had a cupboard in your lower back, what would you keep in it?
So I'm going to say mugs.
A little yogurt and a spoon.
A small handkerchief that was given to me by my grandmother on her deathbed.
Maybe some spare honey.
I'd keep batteries in it. I'd pretend to be a toy.
If I had a cupboard in my lower back, I'd probably fill it with spines.
If you had a cupboard in your lower back, what would you keep in it? Doesn't exist. We made it up for Soundheap with John Luke Roberts, an award-winning comedy podcast from Maximum Fun, made up of hundreds of stupid podcasts. Listen and subscribe to Soundheap with John Luke Roberts now.
Oh, darling, why won't you accept my love?
My dear, even though you are a duke, I could never love you. You borrowed a book from me and never returned it.
Save yourself from this terrible fate by listening to Reading Glasses.
We'll help you get those borrowed books back and solve all your other reader problems.
Reading Glasses, every Thursday on Maximum Fun.
Hey there. This week is a live show, and that means that you are lucky, enough to have me alone, Dan McCoy, doing your ad reads for you. Stuart, Elliott, get out of here. I got ads to do. Number one, for Microdose Gummies. Microdose Gummies deliver perfect entry-level doses of THC that help you feel just the right amount of good. And, you may not believe it from how I sound irritated at the constant interruptions on this podcast, but I can be a grumpy Gus sometimes, and I find that a little bit of Microdose Gummy helps me relax, helps me make emotional connections that maybe I have a little harder time doing without the Microdose Gummies, and just has generally made me a more chill person. So you can get 30% off your first order, plus free shipping to get today even, at microdose.com, promo code FLOP. That's microdose.com, promo code FLOP for 30% off and free shipping, microdose.com. Promo code FLOP. Also, we are sponsored in part by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. Stand out with a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything. Products, content you create, and even your time. What does Squarespace do for you? It's much more than a hosting company. It also helps you gain powerful insights into who's visiting your site and how they're interacting with your content with their in-depth analytics tools, including page views, traffic sources, time on site, most read content, and more. They've also got tools to get your business off the ground, including inventory management, a simple checkout process, and secure payments. And with Fluid Engine, a next-generation website design system from Squarespace, you can start with a template and customize every design detail with reimagined drag-and-drop technology for desktop or mobile. So why not head to squarespace.com/flop, that's an important part, /flop for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code FLOP, F-L-O-P, to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Sorry, this is the part where we talk to the audience. There's a microphone right down there. Am I pointing the right direction? No.
Oh, the microphone is coming out.
No, it's coming.
Dan,
Sorry, I forgot that we were supposed to
Gotcha.
vamp a little to give time for this
Okay,
to
I'll
happen.
vamp a little. Children of the night.
He does this every time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a
stand
microphone. We have
So-
some time for some audience questions.
Yes, we've dawdled a while. Let's try and keep it tight.
Let's do this. Okay, we only have time for 73 questions. But from each of you. If you do not have 73 questions, do not get out of your seat. Just kidding, don't do that. Sorry.
Everybody don't panic. I'm untucking my shirt.
Good news, fellas.
Yeah, that's the farthest we'll let him go.
Chickadee, check one.
Oh, yeah, he's wearing underwear.
All right. Good
Yes,
news,
sir.
fellas. Flophouse TV show on Netflix, greenlit. Pilot's coming up.
Thank you. This is amazing.
Writer room full,
Oh.
but you do get to be music consultant. What's going to be the needle drop when you are introduced on the show?
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty easy. Obviously, it's the sexiest song ever, Drop Dead Legs by Van Halen. You know, it's a little bit funky. He says giant butt in it. I love it. Did you expect me to go longer on
No,
my
yeah, I
answer?
thought you were gonna have more. My children are well aware because I've talked about this. If I was ever a Major League Baseball player, my walkout, or a wrestler for that matter, I'm still working on it. That my walkout music originally was.
What position would you play on a baseball team? Do you know the positions?
I'd probably be the full front.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
checks out.
Yeah. But my walkout, if I was a pitcher or something like that, my walkout music originally was going to be "This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us" by Sparks, because it's a fantastic song, it's a great walkout song. But I don't know, I've been listening to so much Atarashi Gakko lately, and I think it's got to be either Tokyo Calling or Giri Giri now. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some Japanese girl pop to come out. Yeah.
And I would like to come out to the Monster Mash.
Yeah, never has a
If I
song
may.
been associated with somebody more. Every time we do karaoke within, 11 months of Halloween, Dan will inevitably, I'll hear the opening strains of Monster Mash, and I'm like, what the fuck?
It's better to sing it far away from Halloween. That way you have the element of surprise.
That was the song. That was the song where at my wedding, that was the song that my coworkers requested the DJ play, and then they pointed at me and they're like, "Eh?" And my new wife was like, "I can't believe we're dancing to the Monster Mash." I was like, just like I always visualized it when I was a little boy.
Yes.
All right, this is a quick two-parter. It's for Elliot.
Yeah, thank you.
great.
So it's not gonna be that quick.
Okay, it'll be, well, you'll see. Elliot, I noticed you haven't drank any of your water. Are you going to drink that?
Do you want it?
I don't. Yeah, is
The
it?
second part is, can I have it if you're not going to have it?
It was a two-part question. All right, I guess so. Unless
I'll
the
grab
venue
that.
doesn't want me to give away. I mean, here.
No one's
Make it and
All right,
have
this-
it. Have it in good health.
This is a clever beverage workaround, but it only works once.
But yeah, but also now you have to give a bottle of water someday to someone in need.
Yeah. Yes.
Hi, my question is, did you notice that Gonzalez was Poppy from Seinfeld? And
You know what? I didn't, but you're right.
Say about it?
Oh my
He
God.
was.
You know that all that junk
That's
food really
why
got
it's
to
so
him because he could not
funny.
control his bowels eventually. You're right. That was Poppy. We were so busy.
What was the thing
we were so
that
busy being excited about David Rash being in the film that we didn't even notice.
Well, we spent so long. Dan's like, I think the main bad guy is this guy. No, wait, I think it's this other guy. I'm like, you can look on IMDb, and he's like,
Shut up! Why do you gotta make me look stupid in front of all these people?
This reminds me, when I was working on the television show Mystery Science Theater 3000, we had, thank you, great show. It's still available online. There's a movie we did called Killer Fish, where there was kind of like loud, obnoxious character in it. And then I was watching Seinfeld, and that actor shows up much older in one scene in an episode of Seinfeld. And I took a picture of the screen, I texted it to my coworkers on. I'm like, he's from Killer Fish. He's in Seinfeld.
Which
and I
guy?
received no response.
I would respond. Which guy is it?
In Seinfeld or in Killer Fish?
In Seinfeld.
He was somebody's angry neighbor. I don't remember what he actually did in it. He's only in one scene, but I was like, that's him. He's aged terribly, you know. But that was Poppy from Seinfeld. You're right. That's amazing.
It is. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
That's great. Thank you. All this time we thought we were teaching them. They're teaching us.
Yeah. They grew up so fast.
Hey guys, I'm always struck when a movie's most famous scene is a real tonal shift from what the actual movie is. So, for instance, when I finally watched Risky Business, I was surprised at how kind of grim and sinister it is compared to
it's
the
not a
scene
musical.
of- No, it's not just Tom Cruise sliding around in his jockeys or whatever it is. Have there been ever any movies where you've been like, you feel like you've been sold a false bill of goods on the basis of what the movie's most famous scene or what it's sort of been presented to you as, and you go into it and you get something very, very different from what you were expecting?
Well, we did just record an episode about Kangaroo Jack.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, that's an obvious
The movie that famously retooled its entire deal to, well, at least marketing-wise, to focus on the one scene of the rapping kangaroo to fool people into thinking this is a jaunty romp about a kangaroo that raps.
yeah.
Well, the first half of Audition made me think it was going to be something. Really recently I watched American Fiction, and all the trailers really pitch it as like a Hollywood Shuffle type comedy, and I feel like there's a lot more going on there, so it is a lot of different movies, and I think to some degrees of success, so that kind of...
Yeah, I don't know that I have a good one, because I as much as
My girls seem to be like, man, this is going to be nothing but happy Macaulay Culkin.
Literally, they sold that movie as a comedy. Like, you watch it, they're like, the wackiest, wettest comedy.
That is true.
This is
About
going to be hilarious.
But yeah, I'm having trouble thinking of one where it's like there's a famous scene and you watch the movie. Oh, you know what? Like Five Easy Pieces. I grew up. My dad was always quoting the toast scene or whatever it is. You know, then put the chicken between your knees or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, he's like, it's a great scene, and I'm like, oh, this must be a really funny movie. And then I watched it. I'm like, no, it's not really a movie about a guy who wants food cooked the right way. Like, it's about
sort of an unpleasant man.
Yeah, very unpleasant. But he plays piano beautifully.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Cool like Claudia's shirt. Yeah. Great show. Did a podcast about it. It's called iPodius.
It's a really good podcast. Check it out. Maximum Fun.
Thank you.
I'm
Great question. Thank you.
I'm wondering if you were ever in a situation where you impaled somebody on a hook and then pushed them into a furnace.
Do you think I'm going to tell you that when the cops have been after me for years?
Sorry, this is if you were in that situation.
Oh, right. Oh, yes.
Would you want to have a snappy one-liner to say about it after prepared? And if so, what would that snappy one-liner be?
I feel like if I was in that situation, I would be like Rachel McAdams in Game Night when I'd immediately be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God.
Yeah. The camera would cut to me, and I'd go,
I imagine, you would want one prepared because that's a scenario that's likely to happen. And like, I'd be like, give this guy the hook. But that's not great. But then the other thing that comes to mind is the hook does bring you back. But that's a reference to Blues Traveler's less big hit. So I'm like, all right, we'll think of something. Yeah, I'm all hook up.
Watch out! You don't want to keep doing that, or else you're gonna get hooked.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. And or let's see, something about fishing. You know,
stick a hook in him. He's done.
Looks like you're a deader shade of pale because it's impaled on a hook, you know.
Just, I guess Peter Pan must be your mortal enemy because call you Captain Hook.
Hope you got a PhD because now you're Dr. Hook.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
The answer is we've got to work on it. We got to do this.
Yeah.
I've got to assume
You're on
Sylvester
a cover of Rolling Stone because you're Dr. Hook. I get it. Yeah.
I imagine Sylvester Stallone drives around just thinking of good quips and being like, I gotta write that down, and pulls over.
Right.
And if a guy shoots another guy through the knee, then he can say, knees to meet you. Okay, well, I'm running late, so I better get back on the road. Or he's got like a dictation app. He's like, note to self. If I'm ever in a movie and I throw a guy into quicksand. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So ever since I watched, I think it was Children of Men, I've been kind of obsessed with movies that use long takes or oneers,
Sure,
whatever they
yeah.
call them.
Like Russian Ark.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a movie in one take. It's amazing.
You gonna start a fight about it?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, so much so that my fiance now makes fun of me for it when we're watching movies together. But,
Is your fiance Mike D'Angelo famous long take hater?
oh yeah, of course. I wish. I was just wondering if you had a favorite example of a long take or a oneer in a movie.
I mean, the opening of Touch of Evil is a classic. I don't have much to say about it, but you know, I mean, both versions are pretty good. You either get some great sound design or you get a Henry Mancini score.
Can't
All
go wrong.
flavors are
Can't
good.
go wrong with any cut of Touch of Evil.
Yeah, raves Dan McCoy in local podcast show.
I mean, this is not a controversial take, but the hallway fight scene in Old Boy is a favorite one taker of mine because it's like not just because it's like, oh, it's cool, they did this all one take, but it's like they have to catch their breath, they keep falling down and getting up again, and I was like, yeah, I guess if I was in a fight, even if I was doing well, I'm not knocking out these guys with punches. Like they have to keep getting up and doing it again, and you can tell they're real tired of it. I feel like it's not just one take, but it's a thing where it's like, oh, if this wasn't in one take, it wouldn't be quite the same. Yeah. The same as I finally last year watched Jeanne Dielman, which is a lot of single take scenes of a woman making meals, and I'm like, you know what? God damn it, there's no other way to make this movie. I gotta watch her make cutlets from beginning to end.
Speaking of making meals, the end of Big Night is a good one where like you just see him make an omelet for his brother the night after and they just play it out.
Great. Yeah, I like, there's a couple shots in It Follows where the camera just lingers on a crowd scene and you're like, man, one of those has got to be that It Follows. Which one's walking weird?
The title told me it was going to follow.
That it better follow something. There's also one less is the opening of Day for Night, the Truffaut movie, where it is a long single take, and then you realize you are watching a movie being shot that is doing a long single take, and I love that you're like, oh, I wonder which of these characters this movie is going to be about. Oh, none of them.
Wow, thank you.
Good one. Single takes, everybody. Why not do it?
Hey, I don't know much about Marvel, but I know that the Winter Soldier was a good guy turned bad guy, turned back to good guy.
You know it.
So ignoring the first part of it, what supervillain or movie monster would you want to turn over to the good side and fight for the good guys?
That's tough.
Somebody with some really good powers.
Usually that's what makes the characters not so good no more. But I'm a huge Venom fan, not the movies necessarily, but the original character. And he's gone from being a sociopath, like a psychopath who thinks he's a hero, to in the comics he's now the emperor of a time and space spanning alien race. And I'm like, I kind of miss when he was just a guy who ate people's brains. But what do you mean, like what kind of like Detective Dracula maybe or something like that? Or
I mean, this is what happens to any long-running horror franchise, right? It's just like, okay, well now they're kind of de facto the hero, even if they're like killing people. You don't care about any of those people. You go to see the monster.
That's true. Like Freddy becomes the hero in a way. Or
yeah.
I mean Freddie Mercury.
I'm going to say Lydia Tarr. I want Lydia Tarr to be a good guy.
Oh, she's got a lot to...
Okay.
What's the second movie where Lydia Tarr becomes a hero in some way?
Tutor?
Yep. But I think, if it's got to be a monster, I think probably Dracula. But if it doesn't have to be like a traditional monster, then
The Zodiac Killer.
He's a hero.
Finally, use those powers for good.
He was dextering the whole time. You didn't know it.
The whole time.
You didn't
yeah.
know that's the twist.
And he's great at making puzzles. If I was there, I'm like, Zodiac Killer, come to my office, please. You've got two strengths, murdering people and puzzles. I want you to steer into the puzzle side of your talents.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Look, Zodiac Killer, Will Shortz, the crossword puzzle editor at the New York Times, is retiring. I think you can get that job, but you've got to stop killing people. I don't know if I want to leave the Bay Area. You'll do it remotely. It's fine. You can do that now.
I don't think we're in any danger, but I'm just going to say, don't join the line. We'll cut it off. Anyway.
It'd be amazing if I stabbed you right after you said, I don't think we're in any danger, and then... but I'm not willing to go that far for a bit.
You all alone? Okay.
All right. First off, Stuart, thank you for saying that thing about it's a spark factory. I guess I've been saying the exact same thing since I saw the movie. Yeah.
You got to make them somewhere.
Yeah. The question I've had since watching Cobra, does Stallone just want to be a cop? Is that basically, or is that just every 80s movie guy or action guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain amount of like wanting to be a first responder. Like, I feel like there's I feel like there's an urge to be like lumped in with the heroes.
I mean, certainly to be a hero.
Perceived heroes.
To be in a position where force is authorized, and I think for heroes in movies at least, it's like, well, if we put this guy in a uniform, then he can just go ahead and kill people. But if he's not wearing a uniform, then he's a maniac,
or a maniac cop.
Or that you can be in a uniform and still be a maniac cop. That's true, yeah.
I don't know that it's specific to Stallone. I think
he'd rather be a boxer than a cop. But I think he'd rather be a cop than a race car driver, like in that one movie. I think he'd rather be a race car driver than like a
mob boss with a daughter that's gonna
Thank you, yes.
But did he want to be a cliffhanger?
Yeah, he'd rather be a mob boss with a daughter than a guy than a cliffhanging, a mountain climbing guide. Yeah.
Anyway, my serious response was that I think that just human beings have power fantasies, and some people deal with them better than others, and realize which ones are poisonous.
Movie about
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, Dan, I just have to say I was stunned by your revelation that the director of Cobra's son went on to make Mandy.
Yeah, and also the director of Cobra, Stu said that rumor is that Kurt Russell directed a lot of Tombstone, but I had no idea that it was the same guy. Like, there's such different feeling movies.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Mandy throughout watching this because they're both red-lit films about a woman who was marked for death by a cult leader she saw on her way to work.
That's
right.
wild.
Mandy is a stealth remake of Cobra. That's right. Oh,
I mean,
man.
Mandy does feel like you're taking...
why Nicolas Cage cuts that pizza with a pair of scissors.
It totally feels like you're taking one of these trash 80s movies and just let's just push it further and further into absurd hell worlds.
Yes, and Mandy, it corrects the one big error with Cobra. The big era of Cobra was the 1980s.
You're confusing the pun in our tour name.
That's true.
Oh, because it has the cheddar goblin, right?
The whole time you're watching Cobra, you're like, where's the goblin that pours cheese on kids? Mandy has that amazing chainsaw fight. And the one thing that Cobra is missing is they're holding axes the whole movie. There is never an axe fight in the entire thing. Stallone never picks up an axe. And it's just, it's right, they're leaving money on the table.
Yeah, there should have at least been a moment where they're like, go on, pick up the axe. And he's like, never.
Yeah. That's not how I do things. You're one of us. Pick up the axe.
Or he picks up the axe and he's even way better at clanging it and shit. And the kid's like, what?
You'd be the best. Oh, the chosen one. And they kneel before him.
My question, though, Cobra is unfortunately not streamable in Canada. I had to settle for renting it on YouTube, but I did spend multiple weekends over the last month searching for it on DVD in thrift stores, which I was not able to find, but it did make the act of thrifting way more fun to have something to be after. So my question to you gentlemen is there a white whale movie that you yourselves are looking to add to your physical media collections?
Ooh. Oh, I thought you were going to ask me what I look for in thrift stores. The answer is always sweaters with cats on them.
That is a true answer.
Often don't sell them in my size, unfortunately. Usually they're small people clothes.
I mean, honestly, not really at this point, because it's much more, if I want to see something and it's not available, like that is the one time where I'm like, as someone who makes their money sometimes off of people paying for art, that like if it's not being made available, that is the one time I will be like, yeah, I'll just find it somehow. I'll do whatever.
Dan, to possess it.
Yeah, I've gotten past that. I hope. I've got too much stuff.
I mean, I would love to get a good quality copy of a lot of like John Woo's movies, which are just not available.
I used to have a bunch of those on VHS tapes, and when I did my, before I moved to Los Angeles, we did an Alamo show where I then gave away and signed all my VHS tapes, and I wish I had kept a lot of those. It's not movies that I want, but I am a couple years ago, got into the hobby of collecting really beat up, bad condition 60s Marvel comics, like ones where they're all ripped up and people wrote their names on it. I missed an issue of Amazing Spider-Man that someone took a bite out of, and I'm really mad that I missed that auction. But I've been trying to collect a run of really beat up all of Steve Ditko's issues of Amazing Spider-Man, and I've got really crappy copies of all but the first 5, and I'm still looking for those. It was in issue 2 that someone took a bite out of, and I'm like, surely this won't go for a lot of money, and it surprisingly did. Yeah. Maybe to whoever was trying to solve a crime, and they figured there's still DNA on the.
Whoever owned this loved it so much that they wanted to be it.
We finally have we have an example of the culprit's tooth marks here. We can match them up to the wound, but that's more what I'm into right now. Is kind of old, beat up, ripped up Marvel comics. So maybe someday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this movie has Cobra has a lot of unmentioned Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
Which I read was because all of their shooting locations just had them up, so we'll lean into it.
I love that.
So I'd like to advance the front in the Die Hard theater of the War on Christmas and ask, is this a Christmas movie?
It's as much a Christmas movie as any other action film set at Christmas. If you, in your heart, believe it to be one, then the magic of Christmas has made it so, and I feel like...
I will say, Die Hard is slightly more Christmas because he does say ho, ho, ho at one point. Yeah. Whereas this movie, Cobra doesn't have time for Christmas. Like, Cobra doesn't have a family. Cobra, the only god he believes in is his own 2 fists and the guns that they're holding. Like, it is, but it is very funny to watch it. Again, we kind of had a similar reaction. We're like, is it? Is it Christmas? Do they even know it's Christmas? But yeah. So I guess it's a Christmas movie, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, we did it.
No question.
We did it, everyone.
Let's add it. Add it to the list. Let's add it to the holiday rotation now.
Yeah. Now it's got to play every year at the same time.
Hello.
Hello.
My name's Max. Last name withheld. I don't know if we're still doing that. Great to have you here. And last minute, you talked about the theater experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think the Rio counts as one of those old-timey theaters.
Yeah.
20 years ago, I lived in the apartments right next door, and this used to be a Bollywood theater, and I never came in.
Okay.
So I'm wondering, what sort of large, gaping genre gaps do you have in your cinematic viewing experience here?
Well, Dan, certainly not pornography for you.
We know.
I think you're covered on that one.
Yeah. He's got a pee.
I am as God made me.
I mean, Bollywood is a huge gaping hole. I mean, a lot of world cinema I have not seen, and it's hard to get a hold of sometimes. I mean, it's getting easier.
Well, I think it's hard to know where to start often.
Yes.
And that, like, African cinema is similar for me. Like, every time I see a movie from an African nation, I'm like, yeah, I'm starting to see these. And I'm like, well, it's a whole continent. It's all different countries with different cinema heritages. But that's the thing. One of the things that I kind of like and find frustrating about film is that, like, the more you learn about it, the more you realize you don't learn about it. It's like paleontology that way, where like the more you learn about dinosaurs, the more you learn you will never know most of the things about dinosaurs. And so
Yeah, because you can't like get in a time machine and go back and look at a dinosaur and then accidentally step on a butterfly. Or
I mean, you
something.
shouldn't. That'd be bad. I mean, that's pretty much what happened, and that's why 2016 happened the way it did, I think.
Yeah.
But I think that that's one of the fun things about film, but it's also frustrating that there's always so much out there. But for me, it's very much African film.
I mean, a big obvious one for me was a few years ago, I realized that when I was growing up, I just avoided romantic comedies because I was like, I want to watch horror movies. So I've been watching a lot of romantic comedies, and there's some really good ones. Like I'd never seen Dirty Dancing for a long time that I've mentioned earlier, and I love it. It's the best. It's great. And yeah, so you should check out things you haven't seen.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, my biggest real gaps are, as you say, like it's not so much genres as like a lack of knowledge of a lot of world cinema, which is just something that happens, unfortunately, I think. And you really have to work against if you want to change it.
How many times have you seen Cobra now?
Shut up. But there are like a couple genres that like I used to think I didn't like the Western, which I realize I do like, but I still have huge gaps in. And then there's stuff that there are outliers where I'm like that. Oh, that's a great movie, but I don't really like war movies, so I don't seek them out. But that's the best I got. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Final
And
question.
finally.
A lot of pressure.
That was a much more appropriate ending question. I snuck in because I remembered, so Bridget Nielsen was married to Sylvester Stallone during this movie, but she had an important era in the early 2000s on a show called The Surreal Life.
Yeah, sure. She brought her dogs with her and
fell
everything?
in love with Flavor Flav
Mhm.
before
Flavor
his...
Flav and Sylvester Stallone are very similar. She's got a type.
Well, this is my question. So before his Flavor of Love series, but I was just wondering if you had any key plot points that would need to change if Flavor Flav was Cobra.
We have a lot more time-conscious cop.
Yeah.
Some sort of time cop, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like he's also expressed his beliefs against the police many times.
Yeah, that's true. Be less of a police officer.
And if he was, I imagine his role being like similar, where he's like a hype man behind another guy who's kind of
yeah.
But his quips would be amazing.
Amazing.
They'd still be great.
Amazing.
I
Look,
love that idea now. It's like crime's the disease, and maybe rhyme's the disease.
how could you ask for a better ending? Thank you so much for being here. I don't want to take up any more of your time. We don't want to take up any more of your time. We thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you so much for coming. For the Flophouse, I've been Dan McCoy.
I've been Stuart Wellington.
I'm Elliot Kalin. Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you to the Rio Theater.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vancouver. If you think of any questions on the way home, forget them. They will not be answered.
Maximum Fun.
A worker-owned network
Of artist-owned shows.
supported
Directly
by you.